Okay, we're going to cover a bunch of different things in this one today. Like we saw mentioned in the meetup, I'm going to cover a bunch of different things as much as I can. I'm trying to get some more events in New York. It's been a little tough as some of the venues have been removed, but we got something planned with the AI Alliance coming up in September, October, November, and some things with some of our friends at Startup Grind. So there's stuff coming to Princeton, New York, and hybrid and online, but try to get you something here. There's also premiering some videos that I've had out, but I haven't released to the public yet, just as I was making sure they were ready. Uh, all those things I try to publish in the weekly newsletter. You don't have to subscribe. You could just go to GitHub. It's there. Or just look at it in LinkedIn. I cross-publish it a couple places, make it easy. A lot of things are going on. We're going to try to cover a lot of things really quickly. But it's really a bunch of tools. Get some data. Put them somewhere. Magic with AI, analytics, search, lots of other stuff. What's cool is it no longer matters if your data is unstructured, semi-structured, like JSON, CSV, tables, whatever. We got AI to hit them. We can put them in Iceberg. We can put them in Snowflake. Put them as Parquet files in a bucket. Doesn't matter. Again, XML, Excel sheet, images, audio, video, whatever. A lot of data. Today we'll look at coming from Kafka, but we could do some processing in NiFi. We do it with Snowpipe Streaming version 2. We either REST or Java. We've got some Python ingest. Lots of options here. You choose your own adventure with things like Cursor AI. We're able to build out a lot of this code very easily. Obviously, a lot of debugging and checking on your own part. Don't ever just let them build something, put it out there. They'll also build a ton of tests. There's a lot more models now too. I can't even fit them on a page. Now we got those OpenAI open ones. If you saw that article, I'm using OpenAI 5, which is, they're still having a little issues with. And they're open models, which did pretty well. Give you some options there. But what's cool is just parse a document with a SQL statement, and I could call that from NiFi or OpenFlow if I choose. With NiFi, we've been around for over 10 years. Great open source project. Works with almost any data, any source of that data. Let you call LLMs. You could start off on your laptop, ingest, extract, split, enrich, transform data with some guarantees on getting that data through the system. Data provenance and auditing, so you know what happened, what touched your data, how it changed. Back pressure, so too much data doesn't break down team systems, and we can adjust that to whatever makes sense for your use case. So, I found out I can't call Imager 100,000 times a second, even though NiFi on my laptop could do that. You got to be cognizant of what the downstream consumers or receivers of your data can handle. And you could adjust this with back pressure, timings and stuff, so you could slow down the amount of data you push through the system. As crazy an idea that is. Yeah, with the new Snowpipe Streaming version 2, the data is going to be going through really fast, which is fine, pushing into Snowpipe endpoints or even Iceberg at the end of a Snowpipe endpoint or S3. But a lot of things don't want millions of rows a second. So think about that when you're building these systems out there. Obviously, you're not going to move as fast with large binary objects like images or video or zip files. You might have to do a lot of processing, so there might be more, breaking up and chunking than there are pushing thousands of rows a second. Might be more valuable. You might be taking a document, breaking it up into parts, and one document becomes 1,000 rows, but those are very valuable 1,000 rows. 2.4 is out, and so is 2.5, which fixes some things, adds some enhancements. If you're out there in the open source, definitely get the latest one. Uses Leda JDK and Leda Python as you can use. 3.11 is working great for Python. Java 21 or so is good. A lot of options now baked into NiFi. You could add the Snowflake JDBC. Obviously, OpenFlow blows past this because it is fully containerized and managed, does all this kind of stuff for you. But if you want to do it old school and run it yourself, you could do it. NiFi is solid in the open source. Keep your provenance of what's going on. Let's get into data and not just fool around with some slides. We have a bunch going on. I have NiFi running here in Snowflake. It is our regular NiFi. I can import those old flows that I've got lying on around in the open source. Like if I wanted to add a new one, just load it from local, pop it up there, or you can integrate with Git. If you look here in this open source one I'm at, and we'll go all the way out because I got a bunch of cool ones. These are just pre-built flows that we could pull out of OpenFlow, which is pretty awesome. I didn't plan on showing that, but we'll do that real quick here. If we go down to data, OpenFlow, if I want to add other connectors here, they're all ready to go in there, and I just have to add them here. Hope I have my credentials set up there. Don't have them set up right now. I can show you that part. But when you drop those pieces in, it builds out these flows for you to do things like Slack ingest, Google Sheet ingest. Really cool. And they're connected to versioning. I've connected this particular one, that's my local stuff, to GitHub. So I could push my stuff to a private GitHub. So when I move to another environment, I have my source code here managed and safe. And, you know, all those kind of things you like to do. So here, a flow I migrated from Open NiFi with some enhancements. And here I'm just calling the New York MTA bus link with my credentials. And I'm getting the data back, splitting it up into smaller records, grabbing just the fields I care about, because there's a lot of them. Some of them are sparse. I build a new record around that, add a timestamp and a unique ID. Then I'm going to distribute this data. Now I could push it right to Snowflake, do Snowpipe Stream, and I'll show you that in another app. But here I need to distribute this to some other app. Now I could distribute this to NiFi running another cluster, but I'm distributing this to a Snowpipe streaming that is running in another environment. So just to you know, mix it up, do something different. This is running on I'm actually connected to my friends at Stream Native, who run a cloud-based Kafka that actually is very easy to work with. It is if you look here, I'm running this app here. I had this generated from Cursor, which is really easy, and then cleaned it up. So using the latest one there. That's grabbing records here. You see, just running it once to test it is pushing through, you know, a lot of records. Like before you can even count them, it's just blowing through. But we could turn that on and push through 13,000 records very fast on a small instance here. Yeah, I just pulled through 6,000. I tried to stop it quicker, but it goes through pretty quickly. And you can see here with that high-speed ingest, it is just pulling it in. I'm running this app just locally in a Docker here. And, you know, you look at logs and you can see the same things here. Fetching this data, putting this into my iceberg table. And then I could check out the little dashboard I built in the other one. I'll start loading up with data. We could also actually take a look at that data as it's going into my system. Now, forget about the Cortex search. We'll show that in another minute. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So if I just want to look at the last 100 or so records here, I can see we're getting in data from that I recently loaded. I guess I haven't caught up to those ones I had sitting in my buffer. Maybe I should push all of them through. I don't know. That's a lot of data, but let's just do it. We'll throw that other 6,000 I just loaded now here. Okay, as you can see, we're loading. It's done. 30,000 records recently come through, and then we'll get even newer data in our table here. Now, as you see, I'm just querying this in Snowflake. I could query it in Trino or somewhere else. As you can see here, here's today's date. This is 3/27. It's 3/31 for me here on in sunny Princeton. And I've got all this data here as it comes in. I've got a bunch of different stored procedures and stuff here. But if we take a look at this table here, a lot of columns, but we could show you what's cool about what we're doing here, because we are working with an iceberg table. Oh, yeah, I got another iceberg table there too. But let's take a look at this particular iceberg table. I got some tags in there, a lot of columns, a couple there for Snowpipe to fill out. This is in an external volume in S3, and Snowflake is managing this catalog for me. But it's an iceberg table. Doesn't really matter for how I'm using it here, but it just shows you the power of what you could do. Right here, I've got a stored procedure that uses the geo ability within Snowflake to find what's near the data here, so give me an idea of what's near a specific location. Now, if I wanted to use AI to do that with Snowflake Intelligence, I can do that. So I ask a question about bus stops from this data, writes me some SQL, generates it for me, formats it nice, and lets me chat with my data as an interface. And what did I have to do that? I just point a semantic view at it, and Cortex Analyst build it for me about all these different fields, and I had it add some metadata there for me, and I added a verified question. If you're going to do this, I'd recommend adding a bunch more questions, as you know, there's a potential lot here. It's suggesting this one here. I've got a warning because I've got to update my metadata because I had it generate it, and a lot of the fields are similar. So again, you know your data. Where are people in AI? Tell them, what does this data mean? What does it mean to people? You know, do I care about bearing? How important is that? Do I need bearing? Do I need to know the destination name, or does the destination ref have everything I need, or do I need to join it with other data tables or some other external sources of data? You know, it's up to you. And like, was that a good query? Should I save that one? I can add it to my metadata and have it available. We've got monitoring in here. There's also huge guardrails we can put around this to protect yourself there. But again, permissions to use this, and what account you have, what role, what data warehouse you're using, what sizing is up to you. Really lets you control what's going on here. Now, I was going to go and create a new search engine. I don't know how many more they'll let me create before they get mad at me for having hundreds of search engines. But I'm going to create one in one of my databases. Use a small warehouse. Again, I would create a new warehouse for everything you do, so it's easy to control it, turn stuff down, shut them down when you're not using them. You know, don't get those, forget to turn stuff off here. Okay, so where is the text in this column? I probably should make it aggregate one. So usually I'd create a view and maybe aggregate a couple of text fields together, because this one has a lot of smaller text fields. Again, experimenting, looking at the data, seeing what makes sense here. You know, again, when you're building up a semantic view, here is where you might want to figure out which one makes the most sense. Is it destination name? Probably could put a couple of fields together in a virtual one, or have a full column that stores, you know, your JSON data, depending on what makes sense for what you're doing. You know, there's a lot of options here when you're deciding how are you going to analyze your data and make it more readily available to do search, to do AI stuff. And knowing your data, again, super important. So we could browse some of the data and see, like I said, I'd probably create a view on top of this and figure out what's all the columns together, maybe aggregate them. Trying to see if I was smart enough to do that previously for another example, and probably not. I probably didn't think of that till now. Yeah, this one's a pretty cool view, but it doesn't have it aggregated together. I did that for the raw data. I've done that for the weather data. That's probably what I should do before I just, create a search engine. But I wanted to show you how to do it and how easy it is. But let's figure out if we have some data here that's the best column to search. Stop name's useful. Destination name. I guess destination name, but usually I'd create a column that has a couple things together, like lat long location, so it makes it for a better query. But let's just pick one of those because we're just showing you how. We'll just pick destination name. So we'll do that. And then attributes you might want along with that. I don't know. There's a lot of useful fields in here. So that bearings come up a couple times. Like what direction you going, I guess. And pick the columns you want to include in the service, so it'll deliver extra ones there. You can use them as attributes to query. You probably don't want to put hundreds of them there, but a couple good ones aren't a bad idea, especially with me just randomly doing this right now and not doing my due diligence to plan this out a little. Yeah, we don't need that one. And then how do you want to configure this? I could adjust how frequently this is aggregated, what model we use, how much is that going to cost. Again, a warehouse here, you probably want a warehouse for this separate. Everything's separate, so it doesn't get confusing there. But I'm just creating a basic search engine here, and it's starting to index the data. It's going to be available via a REST endpoint, and it shows you how to do it with Python, or call it with curl, with your key pair. Create key pairs, create programmatic access tokens. Do not use passwords. They are going to be gone really soon. What's nice here is get access to how much it costs, because someone's going to go, Tim, what are you doing spending all my money? So got to keep an eye on that. If you're not using it, what's nice with this is you could have it keep serving but turn off indexing so it doesn't get any new data. Like if I know I'm not loading any data, why have it continue to index? You don't need to. But let's get back to where we were and show you a little bit more here. So we push that data through for that guy, and pretty easy flow here. I've got this documented elsewhere, how to get MTA bus data, which updates pretty frequently. We could have this scheduled, I have it every minute. Depends on what data you want. I have it stopped right now because if I'm pushing that much data in, somebody's going to give me a call, because there's thousands of records every minute. It's going to add up, especially when I start doing other stuff to it. This flow is for air quality. This is a pretty straightforward one. I have a list of different places where I want to get the air quality from. Basically major cities and near my house, because I like to know that. Nicole OpenAQ, that gives you some ability to call air quality. They don't give you unlimited access to call constantly, so you got to be a little judicious on how much you call them. But this air quality data, plus the buses, plus the weather data, now I have a lot of really good data. If I want to know what's going on around me, what kind of transportation to use. This is great for retail analytics, financial analytics. You're looking at stock. If nobody can get in the city, things aren't going to trade as well. Give you those kind of things. Track what's going on with tariffs. So We run this, get the data, munge it up, get it in a nice format. I get detailed data from different locations. They have different sensors. Get that data, and then I'm going to filter it out based on just the ones I want. And then I'm going to send it 2 different places. I'm going to put it into Snowpipe streaming once it's merged. So I don't need this data every second. So put it in bigger chunks. Give me better data. Better distribution, faster performance. I'm putting that into air quality. Second thing I'm doing is putting it into Postgres at the same time. Because, I need this for some transactions I want to do. I need this for all my analytics. Boom. Same code to do both. As you see, I didn't send any things there. And I'm also sending some samples of this data to Slack and some to Discord just to keep notifications up to date for what's going on with my data. And then I'm also pushing it to Kafka just so I could read it somewhere else. I've got a NiFi flow sitting on another server somewhere, have it process it, or push that right into Snowpipe streaming, what have you. Lots of different things you could do with the data. Again, the nice thing with OpenFlow, it's going to Postgres, Snowflake, and Kafka. It could also be going to MQTT, AMQP. It's going to Slack, wherever you want to send it. Pretty straightforward. That table is here in my little area here, and you can see the different types of data I'm getting here for air quality readings, getting nitrous oxide. I guess if you're too close to a dentist, you might get some nitrous, but there's a lot of different data you can get to there, and you can do different aggregations. Use that for AI, just to give you an example. So that's running through. I think I showed you everything going on. Let's see, did this finish? Is this still initializing? I do have thousands of records here, and I gave it a tiny warehouse to process it because I don't want to spend a lot of money because I'm very cheap. Oh, no, it says it's active. Okay, so we can take a look at the data preview. We can see we got some data here. We can see what it's going to cost. You could also see how it built this up. And you could do some testing of this search from command line or Python, or use this to add to an agent. So I've got my agents here. I got that buses one that you saw over here. Well, right now it just has a semantic view and a stored procedure. So if I wanted to, I could go in here, add some tools. As you can imagine, MCP. Add my search engine here, MTA search, Tim's MTA search. In your production, you probably want to do this nicer. Find your database, find your schema, and then which search is it? This is that MTA search 2, right? Do you remember? I don't remember. I got a lot of stuff here. Let's make sure that's the right one. Yeah, that one's running right now. 16,000 rows just got set up. And, what's the ID here? Where's the ID column? Oh, it should be a UUID or an ID. Oh, did I forget to put that in the search engine? That was pretty dumb. So we have to fix this one. But for now, I'll put vehicle ref. Title column, we'll do that as stop name or one of the names. We'll put destination name. And if we wanted to filter things, we could add filters based on any of those columns. Then add them. And now we have a search engine here. You could also add Cortex knowledge extensions from the marketplace. If you want to add those there. Pretty easy to do. I think I've showed you everything I want to show you in this quick one. Again, hopefully we'll be able to meet in person, have some pizza, and be interactive here. But I wanted to get you something because I've been pushing off these meetups. Thanks for attending. We'll make this better. Just let me know what you're interested in seeing.